welcome to the 2023 Meet the Candidates Night, sponsored by the Evendale Chamber of Commerce. As Bob said, my name is Adam Browning, and I'm the president of Evendale-based Gold Medal Products Company, and it is my pleasure to serve as the moderator for this evening's program. Tonight, you'll be hearing from two candidates vying to be the mayor of Evendale. Those candidates are Richard Finan and Steiny Vonderhaar. 4 Evendale Council candidates vying for 3 available positions. Those candidates are Tom Sextro, Chris Patterson, Beth McDaniel, and Diane Cunningham Redden, and 4 Princeton City School District candidates vying for 3 available positions. Those candidates are Gina Ruffin-Moore, Cassandra Sains, who was not able to be here, John Myron Simons, and Susan Elizabeth Whiter. And as I said, 3 of those candidates are here tonight. On November 7th, you'll be choosing your leaders from these well-qualified candidates, which brings us to tonight's program. The goal for tonight's event is to give voters the opportunity to meet with and hear from the candidates as they answer questions about the important issues facing the village of Evendale and the Princeton City School District. We hope that after meeting with and hearing from the candidates, you will be better informed as you go to place your vote. In order for the program to be a success, we will need everyone's cooperation, from both candidates and those in attendance. We will not always agree necessarily with everything that is being said, but we can show each other the respect that we all deserve by carefully listening to each candidate. It is obvious that every person who's going to be on this stage tonight cares about the village and the school district. If they didn't, they would simply not run for the office. They're running because they feel they have something to offer the residents, the businesses, and the students, and for that, I applaud them. Procedurally, it's important that each candidate strictly adhere to the time limits that will be in effect. When the yellow yield sign is held up, you'll have 20 seconds remaining for your answer or statement, or white, as may be the case. Oh, you're showing it. For your answer or statement, and when the red stop sign is held up, the allotted time has ended. I would ask that applause be held until the very end of the program, when we can all thank the candidates for their participation together. Let's all pay attention, listen, and learn where our candidates stand on the issues. I want to thank all the residents and businesses who sent in questions. Those questions will help make tonight's program informative. And if you do not hear your specific question asked during the program, which is probably the majority of them that were submitted, please understand that due to time limits, not all questions could be included. So here's how this portion of tonight's program will work. School candidates will be given a statement, no longer than 3 minutes, explaining their candidacy, their vision for the district, and how they would serve the students and residents as a school board member for Princeton City Schools. We'll then take a 5-minute break while council candidates take their seats up on the stage. Council candidates will start with a 2-minute opening statement. Council candidates will be asked 3 questions from the podium. Each candidate will be given the opportunity to answer in a different position, the sequence of which will be determined by the random seat drawing that took place earlier. Answers will be limited to 2 minutes. Candidates will then be given 2 minutes for a closing statement. We'll then take a final 5-minute break while the mayoral candidates take their seats. Each mayoral candidate will be given 2 minutes for an opening statement. The candidates will be asked 5 questions from the podium. Each candidate will be given the opportunity to answer in a different position, the sequence of which will be determined by the random seat drawing that took place earlier. Answers will be limited to 2 minutes. Finally, the mayoral candidates will be given 2 minutes for a closing statement. I'd like to give a big thanks to Dave Evans and Bob Luther, both Evendale Chamber members, for helping to organize tonight's event and for acting as timekeepers. Finally, thank you to the ICRC for taping tonight's event. Broadcast dates will be listed on the Evendale Chamber's website. And with all of that said, I think that takes care of all the housekeeping, so let's get started. All right, as I said, first the school district candidates with a 3-minute statement from each person explaining, among other things, their candidacy, their vision for the district, and how they would serve the students and residents as a board member for Princeton City Schools. First, Susan Elizabeth Whiter.
Thank you. Just a little bit about myself to begin. My husband and I have been married for 55 years, so I hope you understand I do have the gift of longevity. And we have 4 children who are all graduates of Princeton High School. Gretchen is an orchestra teacher in Upper Arlington. Rachel's in business, Jennifer's in publishing, and Charlie is an architect and a structural engineer in downtown Chicago. I did teach in the district 31 years, mostly at Sharonville Elementary, and then when I retired, I decided to run for the board, and I'm still here. One of the biggest things I think I do, I mean, I support the district all the time, but when school started this year, for instance, we were 71.23% poverty, and that number has gone up a bit since school started. Somewhere along the way, I had the idea to start a Princeton closet, and the closet is in the bus garage up off Houck Road. It is a 501c3, so if anyone wants to give a check, I'm more than happy to take it, and you will get a receipt for your taxes because it's a 501c3. But when we have that percentage of poverty, because kids cannot learn if they're cold, if they're hungry, if they don't have the supplies they need, they're not going to do well in school. So the closet addresses all of those issues. And I know people get tired of me talking about the closet, but I think it's important for our kids. And my husband and I, the same husband, 55 years, we go to the closet every day, and he does a lot of the shopping for the groceries and things like that. I have no pride when it comes to the closet. I have no shame in asking for money or anything else like that. I try to take good care of our kids. For an example, about 3 weeks ago, the Vineyard Church gave us $20,000 just to keep the closet going. Because they have visited there, they could see the needs, and so on and so forth. And just last week, for a student, our bus company gave $10,000. So that will keep us going for a while. So if you have any questions afterwards, I'm happy to help. But I believe it's my vision in life to take care of these kids. So thank you.
Thank you. Gina Ruffin-Moore.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the Evendale Chamber of Commerce for holding this event. Making sure voters are informed is so important. Thank you to ICRC. Thank you to the Village of Evendale. My name is Gina Ruffin-Moore, which you already said, but I'm just repeating it so you'll remember it on Election Day. So don't look for Ruffin, just look for the name Moore, and you get to vote for 3 people. Just long as one of them is me, I'll be very happy. And I want to tell you a little bit about myself. I was born in Washington, D.C. I'm the child of an Army brat. Dad was a Green Beret. We lived overseas in Germany for 4 years where I was bilingual and sort of lost some of those language skills. But anyway, we moved back to North Carolina, and then we settled in Cincinnati in Woodlawn, beautiful Woodlawn. I graduated from Princeton in 1975, and then I decided to go to college at Ohio University in Athens, the party school, and then I went to Xavier University for the master's degree. The reason I got on the Princeton School Board is because I began to hear things and see things about Princeton that I didn't believe. I remember people saying things like, oh, that's a rough school, or certain things that just didn't fit with what I had experienced at Princeton. So I decided to run because I had served on the scholarship committee and other PTO and PFO organizations, but I decided that I wanted to look at what would be best for teachers, students, and staff, because I think equally those 3 groups are so important. I think each of you can remember your favorite teacher. If you thought about it right now, you would think of some qualities that that teacher had that she transferred to you. And I think when teachers spend 8 hours or more or less with our children, we need to make sure the teachers have the tools they need to do their job. So that's why I'm serving on the Princeton School District. And also I was concerned about the public relations and the image of the district. So I pushed really hard for two things. One, that we hire a PR person, which we did. And secondly, that we get a program together, I think it's called Purple Star, I'm not sure, but it supports children who live in the district whose parents are in the military. So the bottom line for me is to make sure we provide kids with the skills they need so that they can be successful. Thank you very much.
Thank you. John Myron Simons.
Good evening. I'm John, as the plaque says here. I'm currently the Vice President of the Princeton School Board, and I'm running for re-election. Princeton is the high school for my family. My siblings, 3 other siblings, went through Princeton. My wife went through Princeton, and 4 daughters have gone to Princeton, with the youngest being in middle school. So I believe personally that Princeton is the choice. And I'm running for re-election to continue the progress that we've made. If you look at where we were, let's say a generation of students ago, K through 12, so 12, 13 years ago, and where we are now, we received a score of 4 out of 5 stars. And for us, with our challenges, that is phenomenal. And I want to keep that. The strong leadership of all the board members did not clash with the strong leadership of the superintendent, and I think many of you know Tom Burton. It could have been a bad situation if you have strength versus strength that does not mesh, but we meshed well. We got through COVID, we got through the academic learning gap, and then we got through our achievement process. So we then moved forward as Mr. Burton retired, and we chose Mr. Elgin Card, who had administrative and teaching experience at Princeton and central office experience at Lakota. And he is also a strong leader. So to me, I think we need to continue with strength of the board, continuity, and the cultural values that Princeton has, all of Princeton, not a segment, but all of Princeton. And when you hire people from the outside, they just don't get it. They look at the number that Susan represented, but that doesn't represent this audience or many of the others that I've spoken to recently. Princeton needs that continuity. Princeton needs the strength. We need to not have such a topsy-turvy period again that Princeton went through several years ago. And if we want to continue on our trajectory and continue those nice home valuations, keep that continuity and strength. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now we're going to take a 5-minute break, and could the council candidates please make their way to the stage? Thank you. Okay, welcome back. We have our council candidates up on the stage, and we'll begin with 2-minute opening statements, first from Beth McDaniel.
Hello there, my name is Beth McDaniel, and first I'd like to thank Bob Luther and the rest of the chamber for hosting this great event. And I'd like to thank all of you that are here watching this event. It's great to see that so many people are interested in all of the ongoings of our village. A little about me: I grew up here in Evendale and have lived here most of my life. I grew up down on Stanwin and currently live on Margate Terrace with my husband Jeff and our 4 boys who, we're empty nesters at this point, so they kind of live there. So 4 boys, Justin, Kyle, Jack, and Carson. I taught in Princeton schools for 30 years before I retired a few years ago. And I have been on Evendale Council for the last 8 years and looking forward to serving 4 more years. Thank you.
Thank you. Tom Sextro.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming. As Adam said, my name is Tom Sextro. I'm actually born and raised in St. Louis, Missouri. I'm one of 7, and it was Colgate-Palmolive that transferred me here 41 years ago. But moving forward, I retired from as a sales and marketing executive a few years ago with a Fortune 100 company, and on my bucket list was run for council. Didn't know if I would win or not, but I thought I would run. But I wanted to give back to the community. I really liked it. I loved Evendale, for that matter. But it's so different running for a government position, elected position. So I took the time, and I signed up to be a member of the Recreation Commission and see what that was all about, see if it would be a good fit. Then for a good year and a half, 2 years, I was going to the sub-council meetings and see if it was a good fit for Evendale as well as myself. And then I decided, I'm going to run for council. So it's been interesting. It's been a learning experience. So I'm just finishing up my first term, looking forward to be elected in my second term. But the first term is really a learning experience to get a feel for what it takes, the experience and the understanding and the knowledge, and I have that now, so I feel I can serve you better in my second term. First and foremost, I'm here to serve you, the residents, and my other responsibilities is really to keep a balance between the services and the budgets that Evendale provides. So with that, looking forward to the next portion, which are the questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Diane Cunningham-Redden.
Thank you, first of all, to the Evendale Chamber of Commerce for arranging this evening for our residents. I'm a lifelong Cincinnatian and have been an Evendale resident for over 10 years. I'm currently Vice President of the Hamilton County and Cincinnati Public Library and previously served on the Ohio Governor's Council for Aging. I recently retired from a successful career in public safety sales, so I have more time to commit to public service. Evendale's a well-kept secret, but we can do better. We can concentrate spending of our tax money for the good of the Evendale residents. I vow to listen to all residents and advocate for fiscal responsibility and the use of Evendale money for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris Patterson.
Good evening to everybody. I appreciate your showing up, and I want to thank the Chamber, Adam, and Bob for hosting this event. A quick bio about me for those of you who don't know. I'm originally from southeastern Virginia, Norfolk and Virginia Beach. I went to UNC undergrad and wandered back through business school at William & Mary. My wife Danielle and I moved up from Atlanta 20 years ago, and we have 2 sons who seem to be successfully young adulting in Pittsburgh and Boulder, Colorado. I've been professionally, independently involved in leadership consulting, real estate development, in the nonprofit world and the government sector in various roles for the last 20 years. The other quick bio is the village piece. I've done what a lot of you have done, which is coach everything under the sun, officiate everything under the sun, participate in every event under the sun, and it's been great. At the same time, I've also been heavily involved in the village. I've been on Gorman's board for 12 years, as well as the executive committee. I was president for 5. I've chaired Planning Commission for the last 8 years while being on it for 12, and I've been part of CIC for the last 10 or so. So that's the bio piece. Let's start with a quick premise. Evendale's a great place to live, and we are doing phenomenally well. Phenomenally well. I used to play in a lunchtime GE basketball league where people who didn't have our amenities would come say, wow, I can't believe what you all have. So quick questions. Everything's going so well. Why are we here? What's the point of the election? There are a couple of things that are important. One is, I don't know whether everybody knows it, but we are in the middle of a generational shift in leadership. I see in the back row some folks who are a little longer in the tooth and have served ungodly amounts of time and are taking a well-deserved break to travel around the world. We won't say where. But the truth is, we've lost a lot of institutional knowledge. We've lost a lot of people who have the trust of this community and have done tremendous work in building it. And so we need to replace that with younger leadership who connects and communicates with all kinds of different people. So that's number one. Number two, I have incredible amount of respect for the financial acumen of some folks on council, and we need to replace it. It's making sure that we're squared away is an important thing. I'll tell you the rest later.
Thank you. The first round of questions. Remember, answers will be no more than 2 minutes. The first question is, are you satisfied with the progress of the village in terms of meeting its long-range growth plan? If not, what would you change? In your answer, please specify what you would do to attract new businesses to the village and what type of businesses you would attract. So much focus has been on the Aero Hub development. What else should be done to diversify the village's growth? First, Tom Sextro.
The first thing that comes to mind is actually where we've started this is to refresh the Village Crossing Shopping Center. That shopping center is just to our left, which is Cam's and Aldi's is there. And David Elmers, our administrative director, has started a strategic plan to work with the developers, which would be Equity Properties and the Doctors Group. And what we're looking to do is to improve the storefronts, redo the parking lot, and put a new and improved road entry from Reading Road into the shopping center. The next thing what I would do is a beautification project on Glendale Milford Road. Currently to where we have the median on Glendale Milford Road from Kingsport to Reading with the rock wall, the shrubs and the trees, we could continue that on Glendale Milford Road along the median from Reading Road up towards the bridge. It would just complete the cycle up towards Aero Hub. So that's what I would do. And that's my answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Diane Cunningham Redden.
So I would, if elected to attract new businesses, it would be good to go after some sit-down restaurants. Right now, the only place we have is the Acres, which has been a wonderful boon since I live on Otterbein. We go up and down Reading Road often, and it's great to see families, especially young families, at the Acres. Some of the other communities that surround us have a small business grant of between $5,000 and $10,000 that they offer every year for exterior upgrades. The business has to apply for the grant before they would go under any kind of renovations. I think that would be a nice thing for us to start for the small businesses, certainly not for something that's a large business like Walmart or Menards. And to upgrade the area, if I remember correctly, when Silco was built on Reading Road, the Inwood Drive people were promised a break there, so it would be easily, visibly seen that you're now entering a residential area. And I don't believe that it's been started. At least I haven't seen anything. Maybe it's on the budget for 24 or 25, but I think it would be good to make good on that promise to the residents of Inwood Drive. It's only a few people, but every person in Evendale is important. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris Patterson.
Let's approach this a little differently. I've been chair of Planning Commission, as I said, for 8 years. The presumption of the question is we have lots of land to develop and we have lots of things that can be done that aren't currently being done. The truth is we have 3 big property owners in Equity, Devonshire REIT, and Anchor Properties that control large swaths of property. And so the question is really, how do you get them to come off of really high prices and want to engage some of this? The other thing I'd like to just mention to people is we all know what successful development looks like. It's projects and big things going up, but there's also the flip side of it, which is the absence of epic failure. We have only very few properties developed. Don't get so bent up on we have to have development that you're willing to do all development regardless of what happens. Everybody in the village has a really concerned interest in what happens in commons, what happens in crossings, what happens in these various places. Let's slow it down. The zoning is fine. We'll get good uses, but what's more important is that we get people who are willing to make investments in the kind of development that we want. It's going to take a little bit of time. We're not like Westchester, we're not like Blue Ash. We have very few bullets that we have left to shoot. Don't go around and grab everything all at once. Just take your time. We will get there, but we got to just be calm and be measured about the whole thing.
Okay, thank you. Beth McDaniel.
So, AeroHub has been a little slower than I think what any of us expected. Of course, we had that little thing called COVID in there where that kind of slowed everything down, but I definitely think we are on the right track. It's great to see businesses coming in, and another one just started over there, so we are moving on the right track. And I think, like Chris said, slow is not always a bad thing. Slow is okay. Driving around Evendale Commons, I definitely feel like we need to focus on that a little bit. There's a lot of empty land that's been there for a long time that I feel like we've kind of forgotten about that a little bit. So I definitely think that Evendale Commons is high on my list. Thank you.
Thank you. The second round of questions, a question about transparency. The second question is, do you believe transparency in government is important, and what would you do to encourage transparency in Evendale? If you are able, as an example, please address the State of Ohio website called ohiocheckbook.gov, which shows financial data down to the single transaction level, and why other surrounding villages and cities like Amberley, Blue Ash, Reading, and Sharonville participate, but Evendale does not. First answer from Diane Cunningham Redden.
Thank you for that question. I looked on opencheckbook.com also because several years ago, during another campaign, it was brought up. So I think we definitely have to be on Open Checkbook. It's free. It's available to any political entity in Ohio. One of the first things I did or asked to do at the Board of Trustees of the library when I was sworn in 5 years ago was to get the library on Open Checkbook. So that was accomplished after about 18 months. We had to go through a new accounting system first for the library. It was no fault of the Ohio Checkbook. And we are now online, so anyone can see what the library spends money on exactly. And I think it is absolutely imperative that Evendale join Open Checkbook.
Thank you. Chris Patterson.
I'm a huge fan of transparency. It is the thing that keeps us all honest and allows us to be responsive to all of you. We've had this issue down at the farm before, and by the way, go to Open Checkbook, put it on, let people go at it. The problem is actually what people need is we need a way to engage people more about the budget. Big numbers, big buckets of expenditures. How are we going to spend on this project, on this project, on this project? Because without that, you're going to get lost in the weeds. You're going to be arguing about $15 for gas here and $30 for something else. We do need to find a way to engage people more fully about the budget, about what those choices are, about how we plan our spending, about what's important to us and what our long-range objectives are for. And anything that pushes that forward is a great answer.
Thank you. Beth McDaniel.
Definitely a big fan of transparency. I think that Mayor Finan has done a great job of including a lot more information about our meetings in the monthly mayor's newsletter. Definitely, I feel like that was a big step. The open checkbook, I mean, I'm definitely not against it. I don't know why we wouldn't be on that. But yeah.
Thank you. Tom Sextro.
Yes, transparency is the utmost importance, and if anybody who's concerned with that, just come to some of the sub-council meetings that's held the second Tuesday of every month from starting at 5:30 to 7:30, and you'll hear each of the department heads speak, and they speak very well. They're very professional. They're very well versed in what they do. They're very passionate about what they do. If you want to see transparency, come to that meeting, and actually the mayor's new monthly newsletter gives a recap of that. But if you want to see true transparency, please come to the sub-council meetings on the second Tuesday of every month. That's all I have to say.
For transparency's sake, it starts at 4:30, not 5:30.
On the first Tuesday of every month.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it is the first Tuesday. Hey, let me start over, Adam.
That's okay. Feel free to show up
Want
on
to
the
be
second
transparent
Tuesday. It's
about that,
good.
Tom. Rewind.
I didn't schedule any time
God,
for
what the hell was
rebuttal. I don't know.
thinking? Okay,
Splice that in.
thank you.
You can
Yeah,
come at 5:30, but yeah.
very good.
And I'm never late.
The third question, the third and final question is, the Evendale Community Improvement Corporation, or CIC, focuses on economic development issues for the village and makes recommendations to the Planning Commission, Village Council, and various other agencies to encourage and stimulate the economic growth of Evendale. Are you satisfied with the work of the CIC, and can you name a project or a recommendation put forth by the CIC with which you would have or would disagree and vote against? First, Chris Patterson.
I cannot say strongly enough how good the work is that CIC has done. It's not just AeroHub. Everybody can go through the list of companies that we've put in place, from GTC to Kinetic to Modal Shop. The work that we've done to move the firing range. In another couple of months, they'll break ground on a new regional safety complex in Coleraine. The thought is that the firing range will be moved 18 months after that. The number of people that they've engaged, the number of groups that they've tried to partner with, from Alloy Development to Cincinnati State, City of Cincinnati, State of Ohio, Jobs Ohio, blah, 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 is really commendable. It's taken a lot of work. The one project that I applaud the process, when we did the charter development school, process was great, end result was great. The part that I quote unquote disagree with is I think we need to come to a comprehensive vision of how to use the Rinks property. It's an asset to the village. And I have no dog in this gun. I don't care how we end up on what we do there. I do think it's important to know what it is that the village wants to see there, because that's the only way it's ever going to happen. So how is it that you plan to use the property? What is it that you'd like to do with it? And how is it we get there? We haven't been willing as a village to embrace that, and I think we should.
Thank you. Beth McDaniel.
Yeah, the CIC, they have done phenomenal work. They behind the scenes, I feel like we don't really see all the work that they put in. I hear about a lot of the work, but they are working tirelessly, just getting stuff done. Like Chris was saying, partnering with all these different groups that I've never even heard of some of these groups, but we're partnering with them and working with them. As far as a project, I'm probably not as familiar with all of the CIC projects that come through because I'm not on that committee. I think Tom and Chris both are on that committee. They're going to have better answers. Yeah, I don't really have an answer for agreeing or disagreeing.
Okay. Next, Tom Sextro.
Yeah, the CIC has just been, I'm a member of that committee, and it's an exceptional committee to where we've taken our time, we've gotten the right pieces together. We've got companies like Kinetic Vision is there, the Modal Shop, the General Tool Company is starting to build their 60,000 square foot facility, and all those companies offer advanced manufacturing positions, which are good positions, good high-paying positions, and that's what that was our goal to start with. We have other companies that are very much interested in building in that area, and I think it'll continue to get another 2 or 3 candidates for those empty lots. The firing range, it took a long time for the city of Cincinnati to agree to move that to the Coleraine Township. That site development will start in December of next year. But again, that land will be used for the AeroHub South facility, which is just behind the Modal Shop there. So I don't see any negatives with the CIC. It's always forward thinking. We care about what happens to St. Rita, for example, and what's going on there with the Beacon of Light, with Archdiocese. But all is good with CIC. I have no complaints, no issues.
Thank you.
Okay.
Diane Cunningham Redden.
I think the CIC has done a good job. I wouldn't argue with the men on either side of me that are certainly more expert than I, since they sit on that. And I would, like Beth says, I would not disagree with any of their projects. Nothing comes to mind that was a negative. I would say that if there is not, there should be a 10-year plan, a master development plan that is refreshed every 5 years. That would be looked at if that's something that would be in the purview of the CIC.
Thank you. That's the end of the questions. Finally, we'll go to a 2-minute closing statement, up to a 2-minute closing statement from each candidate. And the first turn goes to Tom Sextro.
Tom Sextro. So I thought about this for a while, and I thought, why should you vote me for a second term in the council? And, first, like I've said earlier, I love the village of Evendale. I'm retired, so you have me as a full-time council member. And with the experience I've learned from the first term, I can carry that education experience over and be a better councilman for you. But I think what's most important is some of the traits that I have. And I just read a book on Marcus Aurelius. I don't know if any of you are familiar with that character. He's a famous Roman emperor and philosopher. He was born around 120 AD, and one of his philosophies is, don't study how to be a good man, just be a good man. He goes on to talk about the foundation of virtue is character. And a good example of that is, without character, how can you have truth? And I'm telling you all this because one of my best traits is my character. And I think character is very important for this job on council, as it would be for any political position. So with that, I hope I have your vote on November 7th.
Thank you. Diane Cunningham Redden.
Well, I again want to thank everyone for their interest in coming tonight to hear what we have to say. A few things that I would advocate for if I was elected was, I think we need another new shelter. It wasn't that long ago we built the open air shelter, and at this point those shelters are booked well a year in advance. Can only reserve them a year in advance, with both shelters being reserved about 90% of the time on weekends or 100% of the time. I think it's time we look at something. A good spot might be where the new service garages are going to be, since there's going to have to be electric and water over there anyway. I would advocate for us to carve out a few more parking spots on the village campus. When we have big events, it's always tough to get parking here. And then I hear from residents that sidewalks are really desirable. I look out my window and I see young families going up and down Otterbein in the street with their little babies in a stroller, and I'm on a curb, and it scares the heck out of me some days when I see cars driving around there, so I would advocate that. I know the idiom is that everybody wants a sidewalk, but not in front of their house, but I think it's time that we start a concerted effort to try to get sidewalks financed somehow through Evendale. So when elected, I vow to listen to you and carry your wishes forward to the rest of the village council. I'll be conservative and fiscally responsible with our money. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris Patterson.
Thanks to everybody for showing up. This is really important, and I appreciate the time you've taken to come be a part of this. I think we need to look at three things in your next group of leaders. One is, I think we very much need people who are committed to the path we're on. How do we keep the ball rolling down the middle of the street? When I was a young person, they talked about innovation and doing things different and pressing the envelope. They never talked about how much effort it takes just to keep the ball out of the ditch, rolling down the middle of the road successfully. We have a great village. Don't screw it up. So that's second part is, how do we maintain a sense of continuity? How do you get people in who know the village, know the residents, know the culture, and continue to build on what we've got? I keep looking at a young woman in the audience. We need to embrace the next generation. How do we do that? Finally, I think it's about communication. How do we connect with all of you? How do we listen to all of you? How do we build a community for the next 20 years? We've had a great run of people who've been responsible leaders for the last 20. How do we do it for the next 20? I've done a lot of things in the village. I care deeply about it. I very much would appreciate your support and your vote.
Thank you. Beth McDaniel.
Yeah, thank you all for coming tonight. Why am I running again? Well, I just want to keep Evendale a great place to live and raise our families. I am definitely available and hopefully approachable. I want to hear from people and, tell me what you see, what you like, what you don't like. I really do. I want to hear those things. And I really feel like I always listen carefully and try to make any decisions that I make, any vote that I vote on, always make those based on really what is best for Evendale. That's kind of how I think of everything. Okay, what's best for the village? What's best for Evendale? And I try to just let that kind of guide me as I make the decisions. So I feel like we're in a good place, and I'd like to continue it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all. Now we're going to take our final 5-minute break. Could the candidates for mayor please make their way to the stage? All right, everybody, welcome back. We have the mayoral candidates in front of us, and we're going to start with 2-minute opening statements. First, Steiny Vonderhaar.
Thank you. I want to thank everybody for coming tonight to candidates night. I'm the best candidate for mayor because of my experience working with Evendale. I began my 48 years of service as a teenager working here at the swimming pool and the rec center. I was an Evendale police officer for 26 years, and then I served on council for 13, and the last 2 years as vice mayor under Mayor Don Apking. My top priority as the mayor is we need to retain our valuable police, fire, and service employees. When I was on council, our employees were one of the top ranked pay in Hamilton County, but that's no longer the case. We need to correct that so we don't lose our talent to other communities. I want to expand the campus to the north and add a soccer field, expand the tennis courts, and add a dog park. I'd like to expand the walking trails in Evendale to connect our communities through the Connected Active Community Coalition. When I was on council, I supported the new open-air shelter house. I worked to keep Evendale taxes low and attract new businesses to Evendale. I was instrumental in renovating the Cultural Arts Center. I served on almost every committee in the village government. I personally donated property to the Princeton School Board for the Evendale Elementary so that the kids have a safe entrance to their school. Together, we can make Evendale a better place to live, work, play, and pray. Thank you.
Thank you. Richard Finan.
Thank you for coming tonight. When I first ran for council 10 years ago, and then 2 years later when I ran for mayor, I was all about economic development. I wanted to develop west of I-75, and I wanted to see the vacant properties on Reading Road see life. And that we have done. We have tried we've had some tough years because of COVID and because of downturns in the economy. It caused us not to have the income to be able to do all that we had to do. And yet, during that time, we balanced our budget every single year. We couldn't do all our projects, but we did balance the budget. Now that I-75 is done and our towers are complete over on I-75 and COVID is behind us, maybe, we have a chance to move forward once again. And we've been doing that both last year and this year. We have a great working team of council, of our employees and our volunteers such as Gorman Farm, which just had a tremendously successful weekend down there with their sunflowers. And we need to help them as much as we can to continue to proceed today. A balanced budget is easy to do when you have income. For years, we did not have income. Now, General Electric, our primary business in the village of Evendale, they provide over 50% of our income, and they are still there. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the first round of questions, and remember, answers will be no more than 2 minutes. The first question is, what are the current issues facing the village? What is your plan to overcome these issues, and why are you the right person to meet these needs? First, Richard Finan.
Well, the one issue we have is building a service department garage. It's a $4 to $5 million project. It's ready to go up on a hillside. As it was, we did not have the money to do it before. Now we have the money, and things are falling in place to be able to do that. Number two, we continue to advertise Reading Road, and we have several people interested in the properties on Reading Road. And we hope to be able to announce shortly the coming of a new business to Reading Road. We put in Safeco and we put in Sherman-Williams Paint and been very successful on there. The third thing is Aero Hub. We continue to look over there. But a big plus is the fact that the gun range is moving to Colerain Township. That has been years and years. I never thought I'd see it happen. Never thought I'd see it happen. But we have it moving in the right direction. It's a $30 million stack of money that's been made available for the movement of the gun range. And I think right after the first of the year, there should be a groundbreaking on that project. That'll open up 35 more acres for Aero Hub. In addition to that, next to that is QTC building. That's a vacant building, once occupied by General Electric. It should be demolished completely to the ground, but they keep trying to sell it. We're slowly working our way to looking for a prospect to get it. I think those are the three things we should do.
Thank you. What are the current issues facing the village? What is your plan to overcome these issues, and why are you the right person to meet these needs? Steiny Vonderhaar.
Well, the first thing I think we need to do is take care of our residents. We need to provide them with better services. We need to do something here at the rec center. We're stagnant. We haven't done anything for a long time here. We have problems on our budgeting for our departments. We need to really work on that. As far as Aero Hub goes, I know we spent, according to the website, $12 million on it so far, and I'm not sure what our return is on it yet, but I think we need to look at that also. As far as the gun range go, the village doesn't own that. They're owned by the city of Cincinnati, so it's going to depend on what they want to do, if they want to sell it to the village or not. So that's what I have.
Thank you. Second round of questions. The second question is, you may have heard it from the last session, are you satisfied with the progress of the village in terms of meeting its long-range growth plan? If not, what would you change? In your answer, please specify what you would do to attract new businesses to the village and what type of businesses you would attract. So much of the focus has been on the Aero Hub development. What else should be done to diversify the village's growth? First chance goes to Steiny Vonderhaar.
Okay, my long range would be, first of all, to try to attract new businesses, work with some kind of people to come in and sell Evendale for us. We haven't done that in a long, long time. We need to, again, take care of our residents and provide them with the services that we're capable of doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Richard Finan.
We turn down more prospective businesses for the village of Evendale than we allow because we want a certain type of business according to the zoning. For example, take over on Reading Road, where the village crossings is. We have a developer equity that says, well, we'll give you property if you lessen your zoning, if you made it easier to build a Dollar General store over there. We don't want a Dollar General store over there. We don't want it over there. Those are the kind of things that we strive to keep the village small and to keep it available to the people. We think that the zoning of the village is very, very important, both in Arrow Hub and on Reading Road. And we think that's what helps us maintain the village as it is, and will continue to maintain it in the future. And we will continue to turn down buildings that do not fit our code, and we do that every day. Thank you.
Thank you. The third round question is, please address 2 issues related to safety and what actions you believe the village should take. First, speeding and passing on Cooper Road, and a perceived increase with transient individuals specifically around the St. Vincent de Paul stores. With regards to the last example, what can the village do to assist these people? First opportunity to Richard Finan.
Cooper Road has been a problem forever. You would probably find as many village residents violating the no passing as otherwise. We had already established on Cooper Road cross flags so that kids particularly could get across the intersection maybe more safely than they had in the past. How to stop the passing? We have a police car up there regularly. We arrest people. You just cannot arrest everybody. What was the second question?
Second question, with the perceived increase in transient individuals specifically around the St. Vincent de Paul stores, and what would you do to assist these
Well,
people?
one of the reasons we have transient people is because the metro system has expanded out to Evendale. And we are in continuing discussions with Metro about where they're going to have bus stops. We have problems over in front of Menards and Walmart. We have the advent of the Greyhound terminal being created down in Arlington Heights has also given us trouble. People come from out of state, they go into that terminal, they go to a piece of land, and then they turn around and get on a Metro bus and come up to Evendale, which was the end of the line. So we are working with Metro to try to get that solved in different ways.
Thank you. You may repeat the question? Yes. Okay. Please address 2 issues related to safety and what actions you believe the village should take. Speeding and passing on Cooper Road, and a perceived increase with transient individuals specifically around the St. Vincent de Paul stores. With regards to the last example, what can the village do to assist these people? Steiny Vonderhaar.
With the regards to Cooper Road, I would work with the police department. My experience is 26 years, and work out a program to enforce what we have on the books and to work with them and make sure it's safe. As again, with St. Vincent de Paul, my experience with the police department, the crime prevention, I think we could work with the police department and even the fire department and try to mitigate that problem. Thank you.
Thank you. The fourth question is, do you believe transparency in government is important, and what would you do to encourage transparency in Evendale? If you're able, as an example, please address the State of Ohio website called ohiocheckbook.gov, which shows financial data down to the single transaction level, and why other surrounding villages and cities like Amberley, Blue Ash, Reading, and Sharonville participate, but Evendale doesn't. The first opportunity to Steiny Vonderhaar.
Yes, of course, I believe in transparency. We talked earlier about the open checkbook. It's been brought up, but yet the village has not done that, and why, I'm not sure. But when I get to be mayor, we will have open checkbook. And also, I would work with, on our newsletter to explain what these ordinances are. Nobody knows what they are. When it says ordinance such passed, and they all pass emergency measure, which I will make sure that that does not happen also. But with the ordinances, I would explain to them what it is, if we're transferring money, what it's for, so that people know and they're educated on what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you. Richard Finan.
The open checkbook has been discussed by council several years ago when it first came out. It was an effort of the Ohio auditor to establish the system. We looked at it. We looked at our fiscal officers, and they said, we're an open checkbook now. We have no need to participate in a state program. We think everything is in front of us, and it tells you exactly where every dollar goes, and it will always do like that. What's your second question?
It's just transparency in general.
Transparency is fine. We have every meeting is wide open. Come on down to our pre-council meetings. You'll get the greatest transparency you ever saw in your life in the discussions that go on with the village employees, and tells you exactly what's going on. A lot of stuff does not come up on council meeting because it's always pre-discussed at pre-council meetings. But they're always open, vigorous, and very friendly discussions. Thank you.
Thank you. The fifth and final round of questions is, what is your vision for the village 10 or 20 years in the future? And please include your ideas for developing village-owned properties or properties the villages should acquire. Also, does your vision include any consideration for relaxing or changing village laws or zoning regulations which provide an avenue for residents who seek or need lifestyle communities to stay in Evendale? First, to Richard Finan.
What was the second? That was a long question.
What is your vision for the village 10 or 20 years in the future? And
I think, I look for the village, we've grown as far as residents are concerned to our max. We have several lots that are available, but there'll be no big developments. I think we always, as far as I'm concerned, will stay a single-family residence community. We are in danger because big corporations are tending now to come to communities and buying up residential real estate and turning it into rental businesses. That is bad for our community and should not happen. As far as the growth is going to be in the other side of Glendale Mill, or other side of Reading Road. The growth is on Reading Road. It will happen slowly, as will the growth in Arrow Hub as we go along. But I think eventually we will become a very vibrant community. Headquarters for General Electric is moving to Evendale. Moving to Evendale. That's going to be a big deal, folks. And it's going to mean more employees for the village of Evendale. That's what's going to make us grow.
thank you. I guess I better repeat that one, huh?
Yeah.
The simple question is, what is your vision for the village 10 or 20 years in the future? And you should feel free to include in that development of village-owned properties, properties the village should acquire, or any changes to zoning regulations.
Okay, my vision for the next 20 years, I like the way Evendale is. My family's been here for 103 years. I want to make sure we have the tax base that we can support our residents and our recreation and our police and our fire and our service. As far as village-owned property, I'm not sure what property is owned right now by the village, but I think we should try to get it developed in the best way we can.
Thank you. All right, that brings us to our closing statements. A 2-minute closing statement from each candidate. The first opportunity to Richard Finan.
I think the village should continue as it is in its development. I think it should continue to be a mix of industrial and residential people in the village. We want to keep the village a small community. We like small as far as our development is concerned. Yet we want to develop the industrial side. We have 2,600 people that live in the village, 25,000 that work in the village every day. They bring in the money that will take care of the people who live in the village. But we have a lot of services that are available to our residents. Day in and day out, our service department, our police department, our fire department, recreation department, they take care of the people very, very well. And they're really well thought of within the whole community. And I want to continue that as the progress as the village of Evendale.
Thank you. Steiny Vonderhaar.
Once again, thanks everybody for coming. I want to thank the moderator, Bob and Dave, for their work here tonight. I love Evendale. I was raised here on a family farm. This is the only place I've ever lived. As mayor, I will be the biggest champion for Evendale. I'm asking for your vote on November 7th for mayor. God bless Evendale and God bless the USA. Thank you.
That concludes our program. I want to give the candidates and you in the audience a round of applause. The Evendale Chamber of Commerce hopes that you found the program to be helpful. You certainly have a great slate of candidates from which to choose. Thank you and have a safe trip home.